All right, everybody, we are back again. We just did the first video of the Tithis, which is Pratipada Tithi. And today we're going to do the second Tithi, which is Dvitia. So Astrology, please, explain to us what is Dvitia and, which Nitya Devi is connected and what is your interpretation of the Dvitia Tithi.
Namaste, Dr. Paiji.
Namaste. Namaste.
Okay, just need to do this. Okay. Invisible. Okay. Today we are going to talk about Dvitia Tithi, or the second lunar day, and the second goddess also presiding over this Dvitia Tithi. So, as we can imagine, even before proceeding to the goddess, like with the first step of the goddess that she's making, she's desiring something. While we can imagine that, when you're making a first step towards something, very often you just have a desire, but you can still back off very easily, right? You just put your feet back and you can still back off, on what you have done. But on Dvitia Tithi, the goddess, on the form of the moon, becomes more confident already in what she actually wants in life. So, the goddess Gamalini, I will just quickly honor her and start. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Bhagamalini Putye Namaha. So Goddess Bhagamalini, she's also, we can still see that she's also very sweet and auspicious, like Goddess Kameshwari. She doesn't have much weapons in her hand, but lots of flowers, also the sugarcane bowl. And the name itself, Bhagamalini, it can mean either the one garlanded with fame, garlanded with luck, so also a very lucky Tithi. But Bhagam means also the womb as well. So she's also the goddess of actually realizing something into the world. So it's not about anymore about just having desire to do something, but it's actually about realization of that desire, manifestation of it, spreading it all around. So her hue is said to be beautifully reddish. She has 6 hands, just 1 hand. And this is one very interesting thing about her, that in her, so we can see that she has also a pasha, ankusha, 5 flowery arrows, and sugar cane bowl, similarly like Goddess Kameshwari, the previous goddess, and like unique thing for Goddess Bhagamalini is that in her upper hands, she's holding pink lotus flower and blue lotus flower. And what is special about pink lotus and blue lotus? Pink lotus blossoms during the day, while blue lotus blossoms during the night. And just by this thing itself, she's showing the quality of patience. And actually, divine quality associated with Dvitia Tithi is the quality of patience. The quality of showing that, everybody has a time to blossom. Everybody has a time to shine. The sun has the time to shine. The moon has the time to shine. The pink lotus has its time to bloom, and the blue lotus has its time to bloom. And trying to make it faster will not really work. That sometimes we just need to be patient and simply allow, the flower of our own potential to just blow in its own time, to just bloom in its own time. So that's a very special, actually, message from Goddess Bhagamalini. And her garments are also green, which symbolizes her very close association with nature. So she's actually, Dvitia natives, whenever they find any disturbance of the mind, the best thing for them is to actually go in nature or even do something in garden, because the element here is the earth element. So Goddess Bhagamalini is connected with the element of, is very much grounding, very much about this Rajasic desire, finding its stability now. Because it's still the guna of Rajas, but the element is earth now. So it's about finding stability and realizing things, making them real. Even the planetary ruler here is Moon. And Moon, besides being the Karaka for our mind, he's actually the Karaka for fame and proud. And also the luck, right? This is how we are very often checking how a person is going to be famous. We check the moon in Navamsha. So these are very specific things about this goddess, which is all about, just spreading things, blossom. That's why she has so many flowers in her hands. And the quality, the color of the moon is Manada. So Manada means pride. And pride, obviously, there can be a healthy pride, when you simply are confident about what you are doing in life and about its value. because again, like even if we look at the Tithis, so one thing that I found really interesting, that for example, the Pratipat Tithi, because it's the first lunar day, it actually will resemble a little bit the quality of the moon in the first house. While Dvitia Tithi will resemble a little bit the quality of the moon in the second house. So the number one, right, Pratipat Tithi is all about me, all about I, because number one symbolizes unity, the self. But number two is already about two things, two eyes, two ears, two nostrils. So experiencing the world of the duality, but also connecting with other people. So people born on Dvitia Tithi, they specifically like to connect with other people. So if you see artists, for example, or like popular singers, actors born on Dvitia Tithi, these are the people who actually have very profound and deep relationships with their crowd, with their fans. People who actually really like to stay in touch with those people and really, you know, feel this connection. But again, shadow quality can be also the unhealthy pride, which is being too proud about certain things and too much in the self and too much in the ego too. And interesting thing is that stage of consciousness, so in the longer cycle, it's the waking state of consciousness, but it's at the same time dreaming state of consciousness. So we can imagine it's whenever we are actually awake, but we are thinking about something, dreaming about something. That is this exact state of consciousness, which is again reflected by the moon. So these are also very imaginative people, very creative people, but it's a little bit different creativity, like we've got this Kameshwari and Pratipat Tithi. So Pratipat, it's more the impulsive creativity, like this impulse that comes suddenly from nowhere to actually do something, to create something. And we've got this Bhagamalini, is more a controlled process, let's put it like that, because it's the earth element. Earth likes stability, Earth likes this sense of control, Earth loves this material security also. Because earthly Tithis are also called Bhadra Tithis. They really love the feeling of security. So when this Tithi is healthy, people born on this Tithi will also manifest the quality of patience. Because if you value security, you will value patience as well. So this is kind of natural thing. However, if this Tithi is in any way disturbed, or if moon is, let's say, in a too airy position, so if there's too much of air or water element connected with the moon in its individual placement, there might be not that much patience, and there might be even some quality of actual lack of grounding. Even though this Tithi provides grounding, but again, if the Tithi Lord himself is in any way disturbed, then he will result in lack of grounding, in not having grounding. So one very beautiful thing also, that form of Shiva here is called Kalyana. So here's Shiva, who is actually married to Parvati, right? So firstly we had Shiva, who is Sukhasana, comfortably seated just by himself. But now we have number two, the second Tithi. So Shiva is with Parvati now. So it's not just anymore about just me, but about you and me. So for these people, especially if somebody is born on this lunar day, it's very important for them to actually learn to find this sort of balance in relationships, and also learn to, how to say, not to be overly focused on themselves in relationships, because this can be the case sometimes as well. Because even if we imagine like earth element, and Tithi itself is emotion. So when emotion is fiery, like we've got this Kameshwari, we have passion as the result. And when emotion becomes earthly, like what is earth? Is the surface, right? So these people sometimes can be too much on the surface, actually. And something happened to my screen. Okay, again. So this is something that we can really see sometimes, that they can be maybe a little bit too much on the surface. And there might be actually, either there might be a connection or lack of connection. This is why, again, the color of the clothes of this goddess is green. And green color is this color of Mercury, of connection. So this is also the remedy for them, to find healthy connection with other people, to be in nature a lot, surrounded by actual green color. Because this is very, very supportive for them. And it simply gives grounding to these dreamy, imaginative qualities of the moon. So also finding some sort of balance between imagination and the quality of grounding and earthiness is also very important for them in this life. So the nakshatras connected with goddess Bhagamalini, which have same guna and same tattva, are surprisingly Rohini and Shravana, which are also governed by the moon. So that's actually a very, very interesting thing, that these are also Rajasic and earthly nakshatras. And both of them are also very much about actual saying and spreading things, spreading the ideas, spreading the creativity around. So Shravana itself has as its Shakti the power to connect, while Rohini has as its Shakti the power to grow things. And this is actually the exact quality of Dvitia Tithi, is to grow things, to make things actual grow. So Pratipat Tithi gives us the idea, but Dvitia Tithi gives us the ability to grow, which is why the Dvitia Tithi is actually quite good Tithi to start things, especially because with Dvitia Tithi we have enormous amount of auspicious yogas possible. So there are like several Muhurta yogas with all the Tithis, and for example with Pratipat we have a couple of like really destructive yogas happening, and they're also very positive ones, obviously. But with Dvitia Tithi we have loads of very, very, very positive yogas there. And specifically with all earthly Tithis, we have also these Dvipushkar and Tripushkar yogas possible. So these are, whenever this combination is happening between earthly Tithi and exact nakshatra and exact weekday, whatever the person will do on such a day, it's said that this exact thing or this exact merit is going to repeat it 2 times more in the future with Dvipushkar yoga, or 3 times more in the future with Tripushkar yoga. So that's also very symbolic, and it shows, first of all, the power of action and the power of responsibility that must be brought into that. Because if we do something very funny on such a day, where Vipushkar yoga or Tripushkar yoga, like imagine if you get angry, right? It will be repeated in the future. So again, the responsibility of the earth element comes into play here, but also its power to grow things. So if we analyze again the number of hands of this exact Nitya Devi, so as we remember with Pratipat Tithi, these are 4 padas of Ashwini and first 2 padas of Bharani. So here we continue, and we are having 2 last padas of Bharani connected to these hands of Goddess Bhagamalini, and all 4 padas of Kritika Nakshatra as well. So 2 fiery nakshatras actually. So this is also very interesting because all of them, so Bharani and Kritika, and actually all of them are very creative, even Rohini and Shravana. So there's lots of this power of creativity being present here. And this is something that is very similar to all of them. And the vowel associated with Dvitia Tithi is long A. So like we had with Pratipat Tithi, it's short A, here it's long A. And both A is connected to Ashwini Nakshatra, but there's also slight difference between them. So the short A is more, again, this impulse, right, of creativity arising from the side, while with Ashwini Nakshatra, it's long A, right? So it's more confident A, let's put it like that. Always this second prolonged vowel is slightly more confident. So, and one actually very interesting thing is that also according to Agni Purana and I believe a couple of other scriptures, one of the gods connected to this specific Dvitia Tithi are actually Ashwini Kumars too, because they are 2 as well. So it's again about things being 2 always, and this is why whenever a person is born on Dvitia Tithi, like the best advice we could give them is really to take care of their relations and find if everything is actually healthy there, that there is the right respect of I and you and the balance kept between the 2. So just in the very end, we have also the Yantra of Goddess Bhagamalini. And this is very interesting Yantra because here in the center of this Yantra, you have this inverted triangle again, which symbolizes the Yoni. And it's even said that Goddess Bhagamalini, again, that she sometimes is called garlanded by wombs. Why? Because she's garlanded by creative powers. So she has lots of this power of creativity, the power to actually bring something into reality. And she's very often also called as actually dwelling surrounded by forests, surrounded by trees, and sitting in the middle of her yantra like that, and just spreading her creative powers all around, right? So this is really this quality of spreading everything and growing everything, being very present on Dvitia Tithi. And specifically, if there is like any very auspicious yoga, Muhurta yoga connected to the Tithi, that's an excellent day to actually spread something into the world. For people who have their businesses or companies, it's a perfect day for marketing. It's the time to actually spread and share something. So it's also what Moon loves, right? Moon loves to connect, to share, to spread, to grow things. And that's the exact quality here. And this is how the moon looks on Shukla Dvitia. So we see slightly more moon visible here. And sometimes, depending like how these tithis are aligning, because sometimes we actually can't see the moon on Pratipats or Shukla Pratipats. So it obviously depends on how long the day is in majority of cases. So it will depend on the season too. But Shukla Dvitia we can always see already. So it's like the first, let's say, phase of the moon on which we can be like 100% sure that we will see if there are no clouds. With Pratipat, we can never be sure about that. So it's again showing us some interesting quality here that Pratipat may have desires, but it will not always realize them. While Dvitiya Tithi is bringing already its confidence. So that's a very interesting thing. And that's how the moon looks like during Krishna Dvitiya. So we have slightly less moon, but still it's relatively full. So there's still lots of quality of generosity present here. So I think that's all from me, Dr. Paiji.
Again, another very beautiful discussion, on the Dvitiya Tithi. And I like, some of the interpretations you made when you showed the Nitya Devi, associated with this Agamalini. And this slide is also showing you the duality, because if you see the last two padas of Bharani, again, Bharani is very strongly associated with Yama and Yami, the twins.
Yes.
It's the duality concept that you can also see here. And it's interesting to see that some of the texts that I remember, I recollect, whether it's Muhurta Chintamani, or whether it is Purva Kalamrita, or whether it's Brihad Samhita or Narada Purana, they have various devatas also associated with these tithis. And it's very interesting to see that when you're talking about the first tithi, which is Pratipada, you said the ruler is the sun. And Muhurta Chintamani and Puru Kalamrita, they say Agni Dev is the deity associated. And it's surprising that you are also connecting it to Ashwini Nakshatra. And the third pada of Ashwini is where the sun gets exalted, goes into its deep exaltation around 10 degrees in the third pada of Ashwini Nakshatra. And when you come to the Dvitiya Tithi, which is ruled by Bhagamalini, it's surprising to see that the moon is the lord of this. The moon goes into deep exaltation at 3 degrees of Kritika Nakshatra in the second pada of Kritika. So that's very fascinating to see some connections there. Maybe I don't know whether that same theme will follow, but I'm just saying.
Yes, it's actually really visible. So when we'll go through all the padas, it will be actually very amazing to see like how the planets are connected. Like you say, this exaltation and debilitation points, even like Mula Trikona placements, right? The Mars, having his Mula Trikona in Ashwini being like very present in Pratipati, because otherwise we have no like explanation like why there is this fiery Martian nature for this tithi, but it's really the impatience is there.
Yeah.
And even with Nakshatra, again, the Agni Dev sometimes has two heads, right?
Yes.
So again, it's like lots and lots of duality here.
Duality, yeah. And it's very also surprising to see that Muhurta Chintamani and Purva Kalamrita, they talk about Brahma being the deity associated with Dvitiya Tithi. Yes. And surprisingly, you're talking about the gunas and tattvas which are connected to Rohini, which is again, Rohini Nakshatra is ruled by Prajapati or Brahma,
Yes.
And Shravana Nakshatra, again, these are both lunar nakshatras in the Vimshotri Dasha system. Rohini and Shravana are, moon is the lordship, which has been given in Vimshotri Dasha. So again, there's so much of connections that you see when you do this level of association. Although I don't know much about the Tithis aspect of it, but what I believe is, the Prathama Tithi that we discussed in the last video, it is connected to, they say the quality is called Nanda. And here it's called Bhadra. Dvitiya Tithi is connected to Bhadra, and it's called Mangala Prada. And the nature of the first Pratipada Tithi is called Vriddhi Pada. So there's some beautiful connections that you can see when you go deeper into, these Tithis. And I think even the symbology that you see here with Bhagamalini, it's showing more of produce of the earth. The flowers, the sugar cane, it's all showing the fertility that it brings. And let's not forget, you also mentioned about the Shiva is Kalyana Shiva. And Kalyana means the marriage between, or the union between Shiva and Parvati. So that's a very important, concept that you're bringing in, and you're also saying that this is more like a waking and a dreaming state, isn't it? It's not just
Yes.
pure dreaming state. It's both dreaming and waking. So you can see that connection very very strongly with this, and it's fascinating to see the yantra as well, which also depicts the inverted triangle, which is again yoni, which shows the Shakti which resides in this, in this Tithi. But I'm always fascinated, Achalaji, whenever you come and talk about these Tithis and the correlations that I make with Nakshatras, and you yourself described so very well, the association with these Nakshatras and how they manifest. I think that's so beautiful. So thank you very much, Achalaji. This has been such a great pleasure to do the series with you. I'm so very honored and I'm so grateful. So thank you very much, Achalaji.
Duality.
Yeah,
Thank you.
namaste.
Namaste.